season, they want to adhere to the social distancing. They had already had the combine, so they didn't have to change that before this happened. The NFL had already had their combine. They have a combine for the star players of college football to get a look at their skill sets. That's already happened, so they didn't have to do anything with that. The NFL season doesn't start till September, so they haven't made any decisions yet. I think they're going to just wait this thing out and see what happens. They don't even start playing preseason games. They are supposed to be starting practice for college football in the springtime. They start that, and the NFL usually starts training camp in the late spring, early summer. They start their training camp, so we don't know what's going to happen with that yet. Keep your fingers crossed, big sports fans, NFL fans, that will be past this by the time that happens. I've been watching, like I mentioned before, I've been watching old games. I was watching last night. I was watching the Super Bowl 18, the Redskins and the Los Angeles Raiders. The Raiders were in Los Angeles at that time, and Pat Summerall and John Madden was doing the game. It was nostalgic, for all you people who love the Madden football. That's where John Madden got so popular. He was a coach for the Raiders, actually. Not during Super Bowl 18. He was in the broadcast booth doing that game with Pat Summerall. And I used to love Pat Summerall and John Madden doing the games when I was a younger guy. I've been a sports fan pretty much all my life. Since I was probably about 6 years old, I started watching sports on TV and wanting to be an athlete. But I was watching on the NFL Network an old game, Super Bowl 18. They have on the NFL Network. Actually, it was the NFL Network's website, where you could just find old games and click on them, and it'll play the whole game without commercials. So it cuts it down from 3 hours to 2 hours when they take the commercials out, and the halftime show is eliminated. The whole halftime is eliminated. So if you want to watch an old NFL game on the NFL Network, you click on it. They'll cut all the ads and the halftime and the timeouts. They cut those out too. Some of them. I think after the Super Bowl, they showed probably about 10 minutes of the celebration, and then that was it. Yeah, it was kind of cool. Super Bowl 18. I remember a lot of the players from Tecmo Bowl. I used to play as Tecmo Bowl before Madden was out. And, Marcus Allen was playing for the Raiders at the time. But I remember Bo Jackson used to play for the Raiders, and on Tecmo Bowl, he was practically unstoppable. But I was looking at the Redskins roster, and Clint Dedier and Art Monk, John Riggins, Joe Theismann, guys like that. Howie Long, who's a broadcaster over at Fox Sports, was playing for the Raiders in Super Bowl 18. So that was kind of cool to see this old games that they're playing now on TV, since there's all the sporting events have been canceled, concerts have been canceled, everything where people are gathering. There's a few defiant companies who've stayed open, non-essential companies they call them, have stayed open. But for the most part, everything that first they said in New York, They discourage people from gathering in more than groups of 500. I was thinking 500, that's still a lot of people, man. Then they cut it down to 50 people. And and then it was 10 people. Nobody don't want. I was thinking, and the whole time this is going on, I was thinking 500's too much, 100's too much, 50's too much. You should cut it down to 2. If you are gathering with more than 2 people, that's too much. It only takes 2 people to pass this on. I mean, those people shake hands or give each other dap. One person coughs on themselves and touches the other guy. If you have the coronavirus, you're spreading the coronavirus to the other guy. And then he says, all right then, man, peace out, homie, and leaves. And he's going to go back and pass the coronavirus on to people at his house. So 2 people is too much for a social gathering. You should only be gathering with people who already live in your house. That's the way you're not going to pass it, because guess what? If those people already live with you, you already got it. If you have it, they have it. If you live in the same house, you're going to pass it to everybody in the house. I work with this guy who, he goes to church and he's a faithful guy, which is fine. A lot of people. But this guy thinks that because he believes in Jesus, that he's not going to catch the coronavirus. And I was thinking, man, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. There's a lot of people who have the coronavirus currently who are just as faithful as you, dumbass. Oh, I believe in Jesus, so I'm not going to catch the coronavirus. I was thinking, man, you're afraid. I get it. You know what I'm saying? You got kids at home. You got a wife. You don't want to catch it. You want to believe that you're not going to catch it and pass it on. But believing in Jesus is not going to stop you from catching the coronavirus, people. I mean, you should be realistic. I'm not trying to dash your hopes and your dreams apart. I'm just saying, be realistic. There's a lot of people who believe in Jesus who caught the coronavirus. Okay, that's not going to stop you from catching it. What's going to stop you from catching it is staying away from everyone else. If you want to believe in Jesus, it's cool, it's fine. Good for you. It's not going to make you catch the coronavirus, but it ain't going to stop you from catching it either. The only thing that's going to stop you from catching the coronavirus is protecting yourself. Wash your hands. You know what I'm saying? After you have been around other people or coughed on your hands. Well, if you coughed on your hand, it ain't going to make no difference. But you should wash your hands if you're touching other things that might have the coronavirus on it. You could be touching a doorknob that has the coronavirus on it from someone else touching it with the coronavirus. Sanitize your hands if you have any sanitizer from some of these jackasses who have hoarded all the sanitizer and toilet paper, and now they're trying to sell it for outrageous prices online. You should be ashamed of yourself, you selfish jackass. If you are listening to this program and you have hoarded up all the toilet paper and the sanitizer, I don't want you listening to this show. All right? That's a selfish move right there, buddy. You're trying to profit off of a pandemic. Out of all the things to try to profit from a pandemic, where people are going to die, people are going to get sick and die, and you want to charge them $70 for a bottle of sanitizer. You should be smacked upside your head. And those of you who run to the store and buy all the paper towels, you can't do that now, but when this first started, you ran to the store and bought all the paper towels on the shelf and all the toilet paper. You should be smacked upside the head for being such a selfish jackass. But anyway, I threatened to move on. And we're going to pause. We're going to go to another break, 30 seconds. And when we come back, we're going to talk about something else besides the coronavirus. Stay tuned. All right, we're back. I want to talk a little bit about the word spite, because I was just thinking, because I seen not too long ago, I seen the movie The Wiz. And for those of you who've seen The Wiz, it's a really old movie, and it is another version of The Wizard of Oz. It's the black version of The Wizard of Oz. And like I've said, I'm 50 years old. So when I was a kid, this Wiz, and if you've never seen The Wiz, if you're listening to this, if you've never seen The Wiz, go look it up and watch it. It's pretty funny to me. At that time when it came out, I think it was maybe late 70s, early 80s when The Wiz came out. But The Wiz had Michael Jackson, Richard Pryor, Diana Ross, Nipsey Russell. Nipsey Russell, which is a funny name to this day. Nipsey Russell. It's a funny name to me. Nipsey Russell was a comedian, and he played the Tin Man in The Wiz. Even the name is kind of cool, actually. The Wiz. You know, The Wizard of Oz is a very popular movie. It's an iconic movie that most of us have watched when we were kids. The Wizard of Oz. But The Wiz is the black version of The Wizard of Oz. And I watched The Wiz recently. Now, when I was a kid, I loved The Wiz. I thought this is a great movie. This movie's fantastic. It's wonderful. But I'm sorry to say, it didn't hold up. It did not hold up, man. I just watched The Wiz recently, and I thought, this is a piece of trash, man. This is garbage. I hate to say that, but The Wiz sucks, man. It's terrible. I mean, it is awful. And the only good thing about The Wiz is the soundtrack, because I'm not in the musicals, and there's only a few musicals that I've ever seen that I like. Most musicals, whenever I see a musical, I'm like, oh God, no, stop singing in the middle of the movie. I mean, movies are unrealistic anyway, but I like unrealistic action. You know what I'm saying? Explosions and one person beating up everybody and shooting everybody and going through all these different things and barely getting hurt, a little scratch on them and a bruise here or there, torn clothes or something. Bruce Willis can kick everybody's ass and get shot himself, and he's old and he still kicks everyone's ass and is barefooted when he does it. But that's the kind of unrealisticness I like in movies. Samuel Jackson, shooting people. That's, just some old guy, Arnold Schwarzenegger, just beat people up. But anyway, I watched The Wiz recently. I watched The Wiz, and the Wiz sucks, man. I hate to say that, but that's why I thought about the word spite, because I was watching The Wiz and I was thinking, man, they made this movie out of spite. And I just want to encourage all black production companies and directors and stop making movies out of spite. Please cut it out. Okay, I know that The Wizard of Oz had all white actors in it, and a lot of times black filmmakers just want to make a movie with all black cast out of spite, just because there's so many movies and TV shows that have